spokesperson for the Commission for Gender Equality, and he joins us via our video link. Javu, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. I mean, as we mark and celebrate 30 years of our democracy, especially with a particular look into human rights in this country, what would you say when it comes to how far we have come as a country in terms of protecting the human rights, especially of women and mostly the vulnerable in our society?
Hi, Mbali. Good evening, and good evening to the viewers. We have noted with great admiration of the speakers that were speaking today, from the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Minister Lamula, the DG from Justice, the President, and Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, that steps have been taken in so far as trying to affirm the rights of individuals, particularly women and children in our country, looking at the issue, albeit the scourge of gender-based violence. The Bill of Rights, as enshrined in the Constitution in the Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Republic, affirms the right of everyone, but some of the people are still being humanized, degraded, objectified because of their agendas. And particularly of importance, Mbali, is the Speaker of the National Assembly, who came very strongly on the issues of gender-based violence and femicide, and also ensuring that, 30 years going forward, we must also introspect that have we done enough for the women of the country of South Africa, including the marginalized people, the disabled, referring to the vulnerable, the disabled people of our country. So that was of particular importance, because this is, like the minister said, Lamula said, this was festival of ideas, and the speakers did not fail in that regard insofar as talking about this particular important issue. But it remains a thorny issue to most of us and most South Africans, that we have got this very, very progressive legislation and the Constitution. As much as some have tried to critique the Bill of Rights, is it talking to the issues on the ground now? But we have seen that, the implementation thereof, and you might even have in the clip the Chief Justice say that the rushing of the cases where people are not prepared, particularly gender-based cases, because they're very difficult to prosecute and they take forever to prosecute. So those are some of the things that this conference, I should think, will try to come into the determination. Tomorrow, more especially tomorrow, that we have one of our commissioners, Commissioner Oharang Womadiseko, will be speaking on some of these issues, and other panelists from Chapter 9 institution. So it will be a great day, an interesting day, which is this institution when they start to speak about these issues.
And Mr. Baloyi, as we pause a bit there when it comes to that conference underway in Boksburg, one would ask, as we speak about human rights and the protection of rights of children and women, I'm going to draw you in on the case which is in the Western Cape, and that is the case of Jocelyn Smith. And maybe give us your take on, the disturbing case that the community of the Western Cape is currently dealing with, and that also talks about the protection and the human rights of children.
It is very sad that day in and day out, it's not only Jocelyn. Children of younger age that are disappearing, their rights in front. Look at how that child, the case has dragged in for weeks, whereby only a confession was gotten today, whereby someone has said, I need the lawyers, I need to confess. Why will they not confess? Why will also you take somebody's child? Why do you also create a very serious anxiety? Now we need to find out, is this child, where is this child? Can they tell the police? Instead of looking for lawyers, why don't they reveal everything? It's saddening what's happening in our country insofar as the rights of children, because one of the things that the president even mentioned is about the protection of the children in our country, and also as people, the principle of Ubuntu, like some have raised today. It used to take a village or a community to raise a child, but now it takes the very same communities to destroy the future of young ones. How many kids are being kidnapped, trafficked? Some of them done some atrocities. So the case of Jocelyn, it is one that, it's so painful in a country. Remember, former President Mandela said, a country that doesn't take care of its own children and youth is doomed to fail. So we are going in that trajectory because we neglecting the young ones. We don't don't care about what they do, would do things that are outrageous on them. So those are some of the things that, we need to introspect as people. What is it that, we are doing to the children of tomorrow? Do we want to create the children who are fearful of the adults? When you greet them, they will have to run away. Or what is it that, we need? Because children need to know that they're safeguarded when adults are around. They trust adults. Kids are true trusting. And that is what is worrying now. All of us as parents, we're telling our kids to be very careful. Even when they're in a scholar transport, we are very careful. Remember, there was also a case here in Soweto, in Johannesburg, whereby a scholar patroller kidnapped a child. The police were lucky enough, very fast, within a few hours, to get that child. So there's so many cases of Jocelyn and others in our country that we need to nip them as a bud, as communities, as stakeholders in the lives of our children, because it is not, to some, it might not be said until it happens to them. But as some people, as gender activists, we know these things are happening daily, and we applaud the police for working behind the clock in order to arrest these heinous criminals who are roaming our street. It cannot be. And we need to send a strong message to those that are found that, Jocelyn's case should be the end game to most of the kidnapping of children and disappearing of the children.
And Mr. Baloyi, one would also ask what more can be done in this country, especially in our society and, of course, in our government, in recognizing, the rights and protection of children. And something that you also touched on a bit earlier is issues of gender-based violence and femicide, which, of course, we find in our communities.
Yeah, what we need to do, we need to, like the Speaker of the Parliament, like the Commission have been saying, we need to have a gender-responsive budgeting. We need to have the National Command Council on Gender-Based Violence and Femicide operating and working with resources. We need to have money allocated to various state institutions like ourselves, Human Rights Commission, Public Protector, so that we are on the ground, so that people, when they complain about certain things that are not happening, yes, we are not implementers, but we play a critical role in helping and strengthen and deepen democracy in our country. Those are some of the things. It needs capacity within the police, whereby you have all units on the ground. You have the justice system that is self-correcting, whereby people who do cases of gender-based violence shouldn't be given lenient sentences. When somebody is given 25 years, it's at the age of at 13 years or 14 years, they're out of prison.
Yeah.
So we need to make sure that our justice system is effective. It deals harshly with all those perpetrators of this heinous crime. And I had several people making submission to say all those are committing atrocities on gender-based violence shouldn't even be given bail until their case are sorted out. Because when they get out, Mbali, they go out and threaten the very same people.
Yeah.
Remember, there was a case of a family whereby a woman was beaten by the family, her own family, for reporting the boyfriend of the mother who was very troublesome to the mother. So imagine what kind of a society are we telling? Those people who blow the whistle on gender-based violence and other crimes are treated as if they do not exist, and also the breadwinner syndrome. So we need to change our mindset also as people. So that is the worrying aspect of it, that it is us, the communities, that are influencing and perpetuating these stereotypes on gender-based violence and femicide.
All right, Javu, thank you so much for your time this evening here on SABC News. That is Javu Baloyi there, giving us his insights when it comes to, of course, reflecting on 30 years of our democracy, and particularly there focusing on, of course, human rights and 30 years of this democracy.